What's going on, guys? Bobby Fi here. I am just going to talk real quickly about the football slate for tonight. It's a really fun one. Like, I always like these kind of games. If you're going to play Showdown, like it's really fun to actually play Showdowns that you've got all these different possibilities and combinations that you can use. I guess I'll start off with the obvious. My captains are going to be MVS, Valdez-Scantling, Waller, Mahomes. I think I'm going to use Renfro a couple times. I'm just trying to get a little different in that spot, but Mahomes is my main one and my highest buy-ins. I do have Mahomes. I have some Mahomes 3 tight end lineups with Mahomes as captain using Fortson, Gray, and Kelsey, and I kind of like it. But the other player I'm really high on is Waller tonight. I think this is going to be a big game for him. I think you've got a chance with Adams. I think when I factor ownership and everything, price, everything else, it's going to be hard to not, for me in terms of captain being overweight on guys like instead of Adams at much just like 3% ownership. So I think I would take some shots there if I was going to do that. And I do like Waller overall. I do like Adam. I mean, it's hard not to like everybody. I have more Derek Carr than I thought I was going to have, and I'm not like entirely thrilled about it, but it's just what happened with my builds. The other thing I'm looking at is the value, in terms of value. I do think that playing Noah Gray is going to be more common than Fortson. I think if you play them both together, you actually have a chance of 2 touchdowns and you can get everybody else in, but you're expecting a big shootout-y type of game, which is sort of what we're betting on, we're hoping for. If this game was on Sunday, it would have been our target, and I really like MVS as my other main play, but I like the idea of the Fortson Gray together just to get weird lineups. Player I'm underweight on, which I'm going to change probably right after I get off, is Edwards-Helaire. I don't really know why we're not playing him more. And I just keep going through it in my head, and I'm trying to figure it out, and I don't have a good answer, which means we probably should be. The guy who I'm not playing much of, who some people are, is Brandon Bolden. I think it's a really legitimately good play. I just like a lot of players in this slate, so it's hard for me to get there. Kickers have been a great piece so far this season. I am not on the kickers tonight because I think there's enough points to be scored. Jerick McKinnon is a great reason to fade. If you're going to fade Edwards-Helaire, I think that including McKinnon in there is probably the right way to go. All right, let's see what you guys got to say. See, Bolden is not really a pivot though. I think Bolden is going to have. I'm just going to take a quick look at ownership projections for the flex spot, and I think Bolden is going to be probably around 15%. So I don't really see him as a giant pivot, but I do think he's fine. I like Waller at captain. Yeah, I do. He's not my main captain. I think Mahomes is going to be in my higher buy-ins, but I think Waller is going to be my main other one along with MVS. I'm still expecting that big game from. Yeah, they want to play Pacheco. Okay. I think it's reasonable. I think you could do that instead of McKinnon. I think it's reasonable. I'm not doing much of it, to be honest with you. I'm open to it. I just think that I don't know what I think about it, to be honest with you. I'm mixed on this one. It does seem to make a lot of sense, and I'm surprised the ownership is as low as it is. But it just feels really tricky. But then again, all of these things are with the Chiefs, so why not hope that the touchdowns go to the tight ends? That's at no cost, basically, which is what I'm sort of going with. But I'm including all the running backs, but I was a little lower on Pacheco than I probably should have been. And I think I'll probably consider him a little bit more. Excuse me. I'm trying to figure out why I didn't get him in my, I ran a couple simulations, and I'm trying to figure out why I didn't get more of him. And I think perceived ownership was a big thing in what I thought early on. I thought he'd be 20+%. If he's not going to be, I think that's a very, very reasonable play. I'm on board with that, Pacheco. I think I should probably get more of that than I'm going to be. McKinnon should be lower, but because of the price, I think he actually ends up more like somewhere with Pacheco or near there. I think Mahomes is the highest scoring player enough of the time here. But I think that there's an argument you could definitely make for the Waller big game. Obviously Devontae Adams, like that's going to be popular too. I like the idea of MVS because it does get you savings as well. And you just really, if you get that one big play and then he ends up somehow, they run their thing together and they ends up catching another one. I still think MVS with Mahomes is a good bet in the long run. So I'm gonna take shots while it's cheap enough. I obviously like Jacobs on the other side, but I don't mind the Bolden thing is going to be pretty popular, but I actually am starting to come more and more on to for KC the Pacheco thing. I'm surprised the ownership is quite as low as it is, and if that's close to accurate, like if he's going to be 5 to 7% owned, I think that's really worth taking a shot on. If he's not going to be, and I thought he was going to be closer to 20 early in the day, maybe not. That's interesting. MVS birthday narrative. Hey, we love a good narrative, right? I'm into that idea. I like the MVS anyway. I didn't even know it was his birthday, in all honesty. I just was driving for 9.5 hours from Arizona here. I got up in basically the middle of the night after a wedding. I'm exhausted. I'm ready to go to sleep. I'm ready to just watch this thing. And just that's it. Yeah, I agree, JJJ. Like, I think he is going to be much higher owned than the simulations are proving it. And that's why I put him in at 20% early in the day when I was looking at what I was doing. I still think I want a little bit of exposure, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. I want a little bit, but I think Hunter Renfrow has a chance to have a monster game, and he's 5,800, and it's not that much more expensive. I think Hunter Renfrow is a reasonable captain option also. All of the KC receiving options, but my favorite is Waller, and then Adams because the ownership I'm less on, but I'm totally fine with it. CH and Pacheco, I like that idea, JJJ. Like, I think that's a totally legitimate path to play. The question then becomes, who is your captain? Maybe it's one of Waller or Adams, and because that's going to be unusual enough. So I think you could play a Waller or an Adams or a Renfrow as your captain with Carr and Mahomes, and then you have one cheap play you have to figure in there, depending on which captain you go with. But I like that idea. I'm into these ideas. I feel like JJJ's on this one. The supposed to get more carries thing is a really fine line, and we've got to examine it very carefully based on game flow and situations. And I don't think that the projections for carries are anywhere near accurate ever throughout the industry or in general. It's going to depend on the situations. You see, for example, the two actual close games, because that Tampa Bay game wasn't really close. Two actual close games the Chiefs played, Pacheco got basically no work at all. Whereas you got some work from McKinnon, especially in terms of snaps, including a touchdown. And then you also had work from, obviously, a lot of work from CEH. So the weird part is CEH is way too cheap, and yet somehow I don't have enough of him. So I'm going to get more onto these chief running backs. I'm very high on the tight ends. That's probably why, but that's where I'm at. If there's any last thoughts or questions, guys, I'm going to get out of here in a minute, finish building my builds. I do appreciate some of these thoughts because I do think the Pacheco with CEH is a good option that was mentioned that I like. I like that Banks is backing me up with the MVS birthday narrative. I just like MVS anyway. I do think he's going to have a breakthrough game soon. Why not? Hey, he catches one bomb early on. You're up by 2 scores. Why not run a little play for him for his birthday near the goal line? Get an extra one in there if he doesn't break 2. Yeah, Kelsey's a tough fade, but you could play Kelsey with one of the other tight ends. And it's a different form, but it's the same basic price we're talking about using both running backs. So can both tight ends with a 7, which you're hoping for the touchdown, so a 7.5, let's say, or whatever, for the touchdown for one of your tight ends, to go with Kelsey's 24 or 25. Is that going to outscore the 2 running backs? I think it does more often than the 2 running backs do, in my opinion. I think it's close. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you all. We're going to make some money tonight. I'll be in Discord if there's any other follow-up questions or thoughts. I need to get some sleep. I need to get back to it. We got baseball coming up. My Dodgers, I'm supposed to go to the game tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. Not sure if it's going to happen yet. I'm also supposed to go possibly Friday. I'm just waiting on DraftKings setting me up with some friends. And hopefully they'll do what's right, and we're gonna have some fun with some Dodger and Padres games, as well as some serious DFS. We got a nice 4-game slate tomorrow. I'll be live for that. So appreciate you guys, and I will hopefully see you guys at the top of the leaderboards today. Let's go.